UFC Fight Night Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez has just taken place, with Montel Jackson getting one of the fastest finishes in bantamweight history, Drew Dober and Jean Silva putting on one of the fights of the year, and Rose Namajunas showcasing why she is still one of the best in women's MMA today. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you a full recap of every single fight on the card and ranking all of the card's best moments. So let's kick it off with the first fight that was on the card, Evan Elder versus Darrius Flowers. So this one I didn't get to include in my predictions and was obviously short notice, because as soon as I made my predictions video and had just released it, this fight got announced for the card, which I just didn't see at all. So I couldn't actually analyze this one. So it was semi-good. I got to kick back and watch it, but I will say that I was actually very happy with how the fight actually panned out. It was definitely very entertaining to kick off the card, mainly because of how fast-paced it was. I mean, Flowers was showboating probably a little bit too much. I mean, he wasn't countering effectively, and you need to be countering effectively against a guy like Evan Elder who has that much power. And then when it came to Elder, I mean, he was just landing the cleaner combinations in the exchanges compared to Flowers anyway. And he looked a lot more confident, especially when it came to the difference in their movement on the feet. Darrius just looked very sluggish, very slow. He just did not look in any way, shape or form prepared in comparison to Evan Elder when they're both coming at the same time anyway. So there isn't really an excuse in comparison to Evan Elder. But I will say for Darrius Flowers, when it came to the second round, he did land a beautiful takedown, which was just after the foul that got landed on him. But aside from him actually executing and landing the takedown, there really wasn't anything else from him. I mean, Evan Elder pretty much reversed it straight away, and then he got into a very prime position on the ground, landed ground and pound. He was doing a very good job. I mean, his ground transitions overall were very good regardless. I mean, he looked very good in pretty much every position, in all honesty. I think this guy will actually do very well in the UFC, you know, even considering he's pretty much 1 and 2, I believe, at the moment in the UFC. But yeah, I think that's just a little bit of just a bump in the road for him. I actually think he will do very well. I believe he's 27 years old at the moment. So yeah, I definitely think you should keep a lookout for Evan Elder moving forward. And I mean, showing a well-rounded game on 4 days notice is pretty impressive. And not only that, fighting up a weight class as well, you know, that's nothing to really just throw away. I mean, Evan Elder moving up a weight class showed a completely well-rounded game, did not lose any stamina at elevation. So yeah, very good performance from him, and I'm very keen to see him moving forward. Now moving on to the first fight that I actually analyzed, Josh Fremd versus Andre Petroski. So in this one, Petroski was doing a very good job of pressuring, and his transitional awareness when it came to the ground game was definitely the key in this fight, and obviously his takedowns. Fremd just did not dictate the pace pretty much for 1 second, except for in the third round when he started to realize, okay, I need to be urgent here. I'm not doing anything. I am not getting up from the takedowns. I am literally a sitting duck here. I need to actually land some shots on the feet, which honestly, I still say at this point, Josh Fremd is better than Andre Petroski on the feet, and he needed to keep it there, but his takedown defense and his get-ups were absolutely piss poor. He had nothing going for him there, which we haven't seen it be that bad in other fights, so that's where I was like, what is going on here? But Petroski, nothing to take away from him. I mean, he had a fantastic performance, and he was clearly stronger than Fremd as well, and yeah, he did what he needed to do. I mean, it wasn't really like the funnest fight, but I mean, 12 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. Playing into your game is an understatement. I mean, Andre Petroski did exactly what he needed to do. 100% deserved the win, and yeah, it's a good win for him to really get back on the high horse and get his momentum back a little bit, obviously after getting knocked out by Jacob Malkoon's hip. So yeah, definitely a good break for Andre Petroski to catch. Moving up the card to Luana Santos versus Mariya Agapova. Okay, first things first, Agapova needs a bloody new mouthpiece. The fact that her mouthpiece fell out and she grabbed it to put it back in is literally what led to her being choked out. She had a similar issue with it against Marina Moroz in that fight as well. It's just, like, it's such a simple fix, and she's had 2 years off. Like, I don't understand why that was still happening after that amount of time. Surely she realized in that Moroz fight that, okay, I need to change this so it doesn't compromise my game, which it literally has, and she's lost literally from this. But not taking anything away from Luana, she looked fantastic. She looked very good, especially with, I mean, obviously through the short time that we had, especially with the judo and just like the overall ground game dominance there. Honestly, I think Luana Santos could definitely be a new hype train coming up through the flyweight division. She's young, she's hungry, she's got fantastic judo. So yeah, great win for her. I mean, just crappy mistake from Mariya Agapova and her corner as well. But yeah, Luana Santos, nothing to take away from her. It's going to be great to see what she has moving forward, especially being so young and having a fairly decent, well-rounded game. Now moving up the card, Montel Jackson versus Da'mon Blackshear. Damn. Holy shit. Definitely not much to say about this, obviously, for how long we got this fight for, but you know, I got shut up in the predictions. I did have Da'mon Blackshear, I will say. If you haven't seen that, I will say it now. I did have Da'mon Blackshear in this fight. But Montel, he just found the opening so perfectly in this fight. And nothing, you can't take away anything from him. He got it done. And I will say for Da'mon Blackshear, I do feel bad for him. I mean, he definitely has the skills there. I mean, I talk about it a lot in the predictions video. If you want to have a look at that piece, you can have a look at it there. There's chapters in it, so you can see what I say about Da'mon Blackshear, about the skills that he obviously clearly just did not get to actually showcase in this fight. Which does suck. I mean, it's nothing to take away from Montel though. I mean, he got the job done perfectly, and doing that in 18 seconds as basically a pick'em fight. Montel was a little bit more of a favorite, but it pretty much edged to a pick'em fight by the time the fight actually started. With that, time for a top 15 fight, and I think you should have someone durable like a Pedro Munoz or a Jonathan Martinez up in that lower side of the top 15 spot. I think that in any of those fights would make a fantastic fight for him. So he's got the momentum there, and I'm definitely keen to see what he has moving forward going into those rankings, because he definitely deserves it. Now moving on, Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Fatima Kline. Look, Kline, I will say she was timing her strikes and timed the takedown in the first round very well. But as I said in the predictions, Jasudavicius' strength was just going to be the key in this fight. And as I said in the predictions as well, it just was not the right matchup for Fatima Kline to take for her debut. It was obviously, if she got the win, it would have been fantastic for her, straight into the top 15. That does not happen for many people unless you're a very big name. I mean, the one I can think of most recently is MVP. There's not many fighters that can really just jump straight into those rankings from another organization. So that could have been very big for her, but as I said, not the right matchup for her. I mean, she's a natural strawweight, and you're going against a brawler like Jasudavicius, who has very, very good, strong pressure. She has very aggressive takedown. She's an aggressive fighter overall, and in the weight class above. So it's just really emphasizing those weaknesses in comparison to what Jasmine Jasudavicius actually has. And even though Kline was faster, she was definitely faster in the striking exchanges, and she was landing better shots with the hooks. When it came to the feet anyway, Jasmine Jasudavicius was just utilizing her straight strikes, like her 1-2, very well to make sure she could keep her range. And then when it came to even getting in close, the clinch game and the ground exchanges, like her ground and pound elbows, were just very, very good. And when you look at Jasmine Jasudavicius's takedowns, I mean, best part of her game, she was relentless with them. You know, 4 out of 6, she landed over half of them, which is very good in terms of that. And her control time, I mean, she had almost 8 minutes, pardon me. She almost had 8 minutes of control time in that fight. So that's just a huge tell in this fight to show that weight difference there in terms of natural weight classes is definitely a big factor. And even so in women's division. So yeah, definitely a very big factor there. But honestly, when it comes to Jasmine, she needs to be getting that top 10 shot now. She was literally going to be fighting a top 10 fighter in Araujo. Then she had to fight an up and coming hype train contender. So yeah, she more than deserves someone in the top 10 now, and she's one of the most entertaining fighters in that division, and probably in women's MMA, to be honest. I think she's very, very entertaining. She just does not back down. She's always active. She pretty much never point fights. So yeah, she needs to get credit where credit's due, she needs to be getting put up in those rankings. Now, for Kline, honestly, I will say that she did look good. I will say, like, she didn't look terrible. She did look good, but I think the way that she fights and that speed and that power that she can actually generate as well, she was giving Jasudavicius a couple issues on the feet. I think if she moves down to straw weight, that power and precision that she has will do some damage in that division. So I think next step for her, definitely drop down to that weight class that she is naturally from. And moving on to the feature prelim, Josh Van versus Charles Johnson. What did I say? That hand speed, man. That hand speed of Charles Johnson. I said in the predictions, he's just way too slept on, honestly. Like, I mean, I understand when it comes to wrestlers, he doesn't have the greatest outcome. But as I said in the predictions, Joshua Van is not a wrestler, and it plays into Charles Johnson's game with those physical advantages he has. He's got the 5-inch reach advantage. He's got the speed there. He's a lot more well-versed. He's fought tougher competition that Joshua Van has faced as well. And he should never, ever have been a 3-1 underdog. I understand that Joshua Van is good. He's very technical. But you do not make someone that has that experience in the UFC, 5-inch reach advantage, speed, accuracy, and power. You can still make him an underdog, but not a 3-1 underdog. So happy money for me. But something I definitely did not realize when it came to this fight, though, obviously you got those attributes there for Charles Johnson. The size difference between the two of these guys was insane. Like, honestly, Charles Johnson looked like he was borderline like a featherweight in comparison to Joshua Van. It's either Joshua Van's tiny or Charles Johnson is very big for that weight class. I'm actually not really sure, but just between the two of them, the size difference was huge. Now, in the fight, the first half of the first round, I would give to Charles Johnson for sure. He was just landing at the better clip. But I will say for Josh Van, he was definitely taking over at the end of the first half and throughout pretty much the whole entire second round. Joshua Van, to be fair, was taking over. His pressure was very good. He was landing better shots. Charles Johnson's just got a chin though. He's never been finished, and it was pretty evident in this fight. And I mean, the lead uppercut counter that Josh Van was landing was catching Johnson a lot. That shot there was really winning Joshua Van the fight up until the third round, because every time Charles Johnson got into the exchange, he would always lean his head to the right, and that's when Josh Van would catch him with that lead left uppercut. So yeah, it was that's just more to the point of Joshua Van being so technical. And I will say that Johnson probably needed to land, like, through the first, like, end of first half and the second round, the first half of the first round and the second round, he really needed to utilize that range more in terms of landing more teeps to keep that distance. And I feel like, as well as that, just getting really up close, he either needed the clinch game or the kickboxing game, not really having it at that boxing range that Joshua Van is so comfortable in. That's where Josh Van was going to be running away with it. But Charles Johnson did a fantastic job when it came to his urgency. He showed the urgency. He was basically, I could honestly, you could possibly say, safety side, he was 2 rounds down, and he used the reach, he used the speed and the power perfectly at the end of that fight. And he got the hook on the back of Josh Van's head and landed a beautiful uppercut. That showed how good that reach is and how he could utilize it. And Josh Van was gone. He was bad. Like, he was wobbled in that third round. He was wobbled by that hook, but as soon as that uppercut landed, it was so flush. And when he dropped, yeah, the referee made a fantastic decision to call out pretty much straight away. Josh Van was not getting up from that. No chance. Charles Johnson would have split him from consciousness 100%. And when it comes to Charles Johnson, honestly, this guy, just 100%, he deserves a top 15 shot now. He is 3-0 in 2024, and we've only just crossed halfway through this year. That's insane. He is so slept on at the moment. And yes, obviously I understand, if he goes against the wrestlers, there might be some issues there, but he's going to have to face them regardless anyway. But if he's 3-0, just outside these rankings, just derailed a hype train in Josh Van and Jake Hadley as well. Jake Hadley is no one to be slept on either, and he's just beaten both of them. Give this guy a top 15 shot. And when it comes to Van, as I said, I mean, he's 22 years old. I said in the predictions, he's 22 years old. He will come back much stronger from this. I think it's good for him that he has a loss like this early on to really show that, you know, he needs to be able to really mix up a well-rounded game there, probably utilize some wrestling in there. He has good takedown defense, I'll say that. He stuffed both of Charles Johnson's takedowns, but another great win to add to Charles Johnson's already great year of 2024. Now, on to the main card. So, as you can see, no win, no loss on the screen here, because it was definitely just a controversial one. I mean, Brundage was getting pieced up instantly, and then the back of the head strikes came, which I only saw like one that honestly like barely looked like it made contact, and I do think he could have been acting. I think most people probably think that. But I will say that Brundage, when it came to him on the ground, at least for that, like the first couple minutes, he genuinely, honestly, he kind of did not look like, he didn't even know where he was. He didn't even know that the fight had not been stopped. And that didn't really look fake to me, to be honest. But going through to like 3 minutes of time, 4 minutes of time, I mean, he pretty much looked fine towards the end of it, and I do think he was acting realistically more towards the end of the stoppage time. I just don't think he wanted to get back in there. I mean, he's getting his ass fucking whipped by Alhassan, so yeah, I don't really blame, but he was just on a one-way street to getting KO'd anyway. So literally a few more seconds of that fight, it would have been stopped anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think you rebooked this fight, to be honest, without a doubt, but I doubted Cody Brundage is honestly going to take it. I mean, Alhassan was pissed before this fight with all the interview and comments and the controversy around him, and now he's even more pissed that it's a no contest. So yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be fighting him if I was Cody Brundage, but Cody Brundage needs to do something. He needs some form of performance, otherwise he is going to get cut. And I think a lot of people are asking for him to get cut after what's happened in this fight. Aside from Cody, I mean, definitely frustrating for Alhassan because, you know, he's trained. He's obviously had the full training camp. He had a lot of shit going on, and no contest. I will say, I mean, for what happened, it's probably, in terms of what could have happened, it's the best outcome that he could have got, because I think it would have been an absolute bullshit decision to make that a disqualification for him, because realistically, going back through that footage, I really didn't see anything that really actually hurt him. I think Brundage was just all over the shop because Alhassan just whipped his ass. So yeah, ultimately it was a pretty lackluster fight to kick off the main card. Now moving up, Julian Erosa versus Christian Rodriguez. Now this matchup was definitely looking better than the last one, because both of these guys just went at it, and like from the start, which was kind of surprising. I didn't really think that they would. I thought they would have slowed themselves down a bit. I mean, Erosa said it in his post-fight speech that was not the game plan, but he just wanted to brawl, which, I mean, it's good for the fans. Don't mind that. But I will say that I thought that it was going to be happening because Erosa and Christian Rodriguez were probably going to be canceling each other out because of their ground games. Like, you know, when you get like wrestlers and ground game artists, a lot of the time they cancel each other out and they just have like kind of like a mediocre slugfest on the feet, which for these guys, it wasn't really mediocre. I mean, they were both doing very well. I mean, they both wobbled each other through the first round, and Christian Rodriguez, I will say, even though he lost, he was using his jab very well. Like, he was pressing through with that jab, and Julian Erosa was getting pieced up a bit. He got a cut on his nose, Julian Erosa did, from the jab, and I honestly think Christian Rodriguez did get the better of the exchanges, especially with the weight of his strikes. But Erosa did do a very good job of getting that fight to the ground when he needed to, and man, obviously that guillotine was insane. He secured that so fast, and he got the tap pretty much within a couple of seconds, like less than 5 seconds. It was so tight, and Christian Rodriguez, he's got pretty good defense all around, striking defense, takedown defense, and submission defense. And the fact that Erosa was able to take him out like that, going to 13-0 with submissions now. Julian Erosa, as chinny as he is bloody vicious on the ground. So a great win for Erosa to really take that momentum away from Christian Rodriguez and to show that Erosa has still got it in him. Moving up, Gabriel Bonfim versus Ange Loosa. Now this fight, I think, would have fucked up a few people's multis, I will probably say. Mainly because I didn't think we'd get a decision out of this. Unless we got a decision, I'd probably say might have been an Ange Loosa's side. Because Loosa, I mean, obviously he's more so that offensive, like just in your face kind of pressure whether it comes to the takedowns, you know, they're just the cage pressure and the striking as well. And he did have the right game plan to kick it off. He was pressuring forward very well, and he did get the takedowns just to get control. He wasn't trying to advance to get a better position, because obviously when in terms of transitioning to better positions, that's when you can lose that controlling position you do have, and oftentimes you can then get caught in a submission from it. So he was doing a very good job of just trying to drain Bonfim out, at least throughout the start of the fight, and he was obviously trying to do that to drain Bonfim's gas tank down, which is the perfect game plan, honestly, if we take anything away from his fight with Nick Dolby. But Bonfim was finding the better success on the feet. I mean, he dropped him in the first round, and the clinch knees that Bonfim was landing were money. They were good. They were very, very good. A lot of impact on Loosa. Obviously, if Loosa wasn't just this freaking ball of muscle, I'm sure it would have done a lot more damage to another fighter that's not as just muscle built as him, someone that's a lot skinnier or something like that. I think that's when that damage really could have come in. He could have actually crippled them with a body shot TKO. But yeah, credit to Loosa. I mean, especially at elevation as well, absorbing that many body shots, and he did not slow down pretty much the whole entire fight. So yeah, kudos to Ange Loosa, even though he lost. But then when we look at Bonfim, I feel like he was really just trying to prove himself after that Dolby fight and the way that he lost that, and to show that he can really actually push a consistent pace after that first round, which he did a fantastic job of. He did not slow down either. He did a very good job of keeping a consistent pace. Obviously, you can see on the screen, he landed over 100 significant strikes, was doing very good keeping the fight at distance. When it was in the clinch, you know, obviously the knees were the best part of this fight without a doubt. And yeah, overall, he just did a very good job when it came to the striking. And more so, I do believe that because he was so offensively active when it came to being on the feet, Bonfim just did not really look at wanting to, you know, press with those takedowns. I mean, he only landed one takedown because I think that's just where he wanted to prove that. So obviously that's where I think it really ruined a lot of people's bets, probably, because I think a lot of people were going for him by submission or possibly a KO TKO. I don't think many people were looking at him by a decision. You know, I guess that's down to that change of game plan and outlook. And I mean, he's changed his whole entire training camp since losing to Dolby as well. So it's a bit of just a wild ride to see what he was even going to do going in there. And this is the first time he's ever gone to a decision in his career. So yeah, he did a fantastic job, and it shows more depth to his game. Moving on, Drew Dober, Gene Silva, holy shitballs. Gene Silva is an absolute machine. This guy will be a top 15 staple without a doubt, especially performing like that with back-to-back fights over a 2-week period. That is insane. He looked fantastic in this fight, and honestly, so did Drew Dober. Drew Dober looked very good. I'm not just all on Gene Silva in this. I know I've been like that before and with the fighting nerds, but honestly, he did a fantastic job. Drew Dober did a fantastic job staying in that fight. His durability was absolutely insane. Gene Silva was landing a ridiculous amount of versatile shots on him, and look, as much as everyone on this planet wanted this fight to go on, I think it was a completely fair stoppage for that fight. Gene Silva literally cut Drew Dober's entire fucking eyebrow off. That was insane. Like, you can see the pictures on the internet and everything like that. I'll pop one on the screen now. His eyebrow was cooked. It was insane. Like, usually I'm like, when I'm watching fights, I'm like, you know, cuts, some of them are pretty bad. Like, Song Yadong versus Corey Sandhagen, Songs was pretty bad. I was like, oh, you probably could have continued that on, to be honest. But this, I was like, nah, no chance. He's literally ripped his whole entire eyebrow off. It was nasty. It was insane. And on Gene Silva, honestly, he is just an absolute assassin with the striking. You know, from the check lead left hook that he was getting when Drew Dober would come in for the exchanges, to the body kicks when he was at distance, the flying knee that he landed, and most of all, the spinning elbows as well, which pretty much made the cut happen. His striking is just so clean for being outside those rankings, and would say that probably riot if he doesn't get a shot inside the rankings. He's so entertaining. He is insane as well. He's something. There's a screw loose in his head from obviously the walkout to the post-fight stuff, but he's literally shouting in Drew Dober's corner. To Drew Dober's corner while he is still in kickboxing to boxing range where Drew Dober can catch him, which Drew Dober did catch him, but I mean Gene Silva's got a chin as well. So yeah, he's very entertaining. He's so unpredictable, not only when it comes to his fight style, but just what the hell he is going to do and where his brain is at in his fights. He is insane. Like, even when he was fighting Drew Dober and they were going in the exchanges and Drew Dober landed a good shot, he would just congratulate him on the shot. He is, yeah, definitely a different breed, and I don't know what planet he is from, but yeah, 100% top 15 incoming without a doubt for him. And I would probably want to see him fight the loser of Benoit Saint Denis or Renato Moicano in Paris on September 28th, I believe it is. I'd love to see him fight one of those guys. I don't know what his relationship is like with Renato Moicano and if they can fight, but still it would make for an amazing fight and a clash of styles. Or if he goes back down to featherweight, he's got both options there. I mean, he could fight Dan Ige or something like that and test Dan Ige's durability. He just needs a ranked fight. 100%. We riot if he doesn't get a ranked fight. He is a great, entertaining fighter, and I think he is, honestly, if he keeps on the way he's going to be an absolute superstar in this sport. It's pretty much impossible to not make this fight of the night, let alone honestly, this was one of the best fights of the year that we've got so far. And, you know, credit to Drew Dober as well, because Drew Dober is never not entertaining in his fights. You know, just a great role model for the sport in terms of, you know, just showing heart, his durability, his entertainment factor. He's just a very good guy in general, and this was just a fight that well, at least for myself, I will definitely not forget, and I cannot wait to see the both of these guys again as soon as possible. And moving on to the co-main event, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikhov. So this fight was definitely like a forward pressure kind of seesaw fight. I mean, whoever had the forward pressure was going to be having the most of the success in this fight, which Ponzinibbio showed in the first round, and then Salikhov took it in the second round. And overall, I'm going to say this was a pretty boring fight. I mean, going from Drew Dober to Gene Silva to this shit, I mean, you know, respect both of the fighters, but yeah, it should not have been the co-main event. I don't know why they made this the co-main event. Should have been switched the other way around 100%. I think they were just really riding on there was going to be a KO in this fight. It was just going to be a complete scrap. But I mean, both of these guys are getting on, and Gene Silva and Drew Dober were guaranteed that anyway, just with their fight styles. So yeah, I really think the UFC missed the mark in this one, but we move. Honestly, I can understand the win for Salikhov in this fight. I mean, he did a good job of stuffing the takedowns of Ponzinibbio, and he did land the better shots. So yeah, he deserves the win, but yeah, definitely a snoozer of a co-main event. And moving on to the main event, Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. Look, start things off, respect to Tracy for the weight cut and, you know, getting in there as well, going for her first 5-round fight, especially after the first round where she got dropped by Rose as well with that 1-2, super clean. And I honestly thought Tracy Cortez was probably going to be out of there, but yeah, she showed a lot of heart. I mean, she was, you know, fairly defensively sound, at least when it came to the striking. But yeah, Rose just showed that there are different levels to this game, and she outclassed Tracy Cortez pretty much everywhere aside from like a few takedowns. I mean, realistically, Rose just dominated the entire fight, and yeah, Tracy Cortez just didn't have the answers for her pretty much anywhere. And she had a fake lash fly off as well, so I thought she was screwed from that point as well. But Rose, honestly, just going on to Rose, I mean, she did a very, very good job on timing those double legs, and she maintained her range on the feet very well as well, and she frustrated Tracy, especially with the teep kicks and the jabs as well, just using those long kind of strikes that she is very good at using. I mean, just a natural kind of clinic from Rose Namajunas. And so with that, I mean, honestly, it's time for Rose to, I think, hold out for the title, as she said in the post-fight speech that she did. I honestly think think that she could either hold out or she could fight the loser of Shevchenko and Grasso and then fight for the title after that for whoever has to fight Manon Fiorot afterwards, because Manon Fiorot, she is without a doubt next in line. She's ahead of Rose Namajunas and she should be fighting one of them. And it's it's unlucky for Maycee Barber when it comes to not being able to show up in this fight. She was at the fight night, but yeah, she couldn't show up in this fight, and I think it would have made a lot more competitive fight. But on a side note, I think you give Maycee Barber Erin Blanchfield, I think that's just staring everyone straight in the face, and I think that'd be a very good fight and a good clash of styles. Clinch game versus ground game, I think that would be pretty exciting. But overall, considering this is a fight night straight after a pay-per-view, after UFC 303, this is definitely a good fight night, and I'd say honestly this was one of the best of the year so far. Now moving on to our fight card awards, kicking it off with the fighter to watch, Gene Silva. Plain and simple, man, this guy is going to be a fan favorite in the UFC for years to come, and if he keeps his fights as entertaining as this, and he's also just so comfortable in the octagon. Literally, as I said, shouting at Drew Dober's corner is just insane in a striking exchange. With him being so entertaining and so cerebral with his striking, I think he'll just do so much damage to either the featherweight or lightweight division moving forward as long as he keeps that momentum. And honestly, just don't miss this guy when it comes to his future fights. He's extremely entertaining, and I think he will be able to deliver pretty much every single time, win or lose. Now moving on to finish of the night. Look, it's razor close with Montel Jackson and his finish, but Charles Johnson just faced 2 rounds of adversity. He dug deep and used his best weapons with that, the speed, the reach, and the power to get it done against a hype train, one of the biggest hype trains in that division as well. And he's now 3-0 in 2024, so he just cannot be denied a ranked opponent at this point. Now moving on to the top 3 most notable moments of this fight card. In third place, I'm giving it to Montel Jackson and his KO over Da'mon Blackshear. He's just looking very clean, and he's got a lot of momentum on his side now, and he's got the second fastest finish in bantamweight history behind Eric Perez versus Ken Stone in 2012 by 1 second. He's got 18 seconds, they've got 17 seconds. So yeah, with a statement performance like that, time for a top 15 shot in my opinion. Now moving on to the second most notable moment of the card, Josh Van versus Charles Johnson in their fight as the feature prelim. Honestly, as I said in the predictions, this would be a great high output fight that had a lot of technical exchanges in it. But as I also said in the predictions, that power, reach, and speed of Charles Johnson was just going to be pulling through. And it's even more impressive that he actually got to show that urgency. And, he was pretty much 2-0 down at that point against one of the biggest hype trains in that division. Definitely probably the biggest one outside of the rankings, and he got it done, and he got it done by a very clean finish. So yeah, 100% give him a top 15 shot. And the best moment of the card, absolute brain dead simple here, Drew Dober versus Gene Silva. An amazing fight. Just what more can we say about it, honestly? I just didn't expect anything less from these guys. Dober ate so many good shots from Silva and held up well. And that eyebrow was an absolute mess. Absolutely ruined Drew Dober's face even more. And Gene Silva, honestly, he shouldn't be getting anyone except a top 15 opponent after going on those back-to-back wins, back-to-back weight cuts. And technically finishing both of them, and I know it's a doctor's stoppage in this one, but fighting some of the most durable guys in the respective weight classes. Drew Dober is definitely one of the most durable in lightweight, and then Charles Jourdain is without a doubt one of the most durable in featherweight, and Gene Silva was the first guy to knock him out. So yeah, credit where credit's due, top 15, 100% in either division. This was easily fight of the night without a doubt. but definitely one of the best fights of the year so far. Now, just like Montel Jackson, Gene Silva, and Rose Namajunas all getting fantastic wins, they now have a lot of options moving forward. And with those options moving forward, if you haven't seen my video on Dustin Poirier and where I think he should go next for his final fight in his career, and all the options that he could possibly have as that final fight, definitely check that one out. I've just got that linked on the screen here. And with that, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and please like, comment, subscribe. It really goes a long way for the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.